Hey, it's Melissa. How are you today?
How are you, Melissa?
I am good. How about you?
I'm here talking to you. I'm eating lunch. Is that okay?
That is great. That is great. Let's start off by talking about my legacy voice.
Okay.
So tell me just a little bit about it and why you decided to get involved in the project.
Well, I have a business partner named Mickey Benson who um, gets a lot of offers for me to do lots of different things, and most of them I turn down because everybody out here has a bright idea, you know. And so they were telling me about this thing. It was a vocal clone, and I'm very familiar with holograms and things of this nature, but I just didn't believe it was going to work. I was like, it's going to sound like a robot, you know. But so he was pushing it. He was like, come on, man, let's at least give him a try because we know this is the future. We know this is coming. It'll just be a matter of who does it right. So I was still very skeptical. And they sent me a clone of my voice saying supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I never said that. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, that shit sounds like me. So then I sent it to my son. I let my wife hear it. I let some of my close friends, and they called me a liar. They said, that's you. I'm like, all right, now they got my attention. Let's go. So I met with the people, and we went in and we did some more elaborate recordings. Were able to clone me from not even me giving them vocals, just taking it from different interviews. So what I did was I went in, I did a few hours of recording where they had different scripts they wanted me to read one happy, read one sad, angry. And I just said, hey, I want to be involved with this. I'm happy to get in the ground level with them as they start. And I believe that Legacy Voice or Vocapsule, whatever, they got a couple of names, but I said they basically seem to have this done right, and I think it's the future. There's a lot of there's a lot of applications for it, and so I'm just proud to be part of something at the ground level.
How do you see this as a tool for say actors?
Well, it's not really something that really could be used for acting because acting requires you to be emotionally connected to different things, so that's a little different. But it works for voiceovers, it will work for commercials, it will work for animation. um I had a situation where I was on Rick and Morty, and they had animated me, but they weren't able to get me personally to do it because I was in Europe on tour. If they had this, they could have put my voice onto this character, and it would have worked. It would have worked perfectly. And people were kind of upset that I wasn't the actual voice on the cartoon, you know? So there's certain applications where this will work in video games. Certain things where you just need me to read dialogue versus actually put any heavy emphasis behind it. I don't think it'll work for music yet unless they can figure out a way to connect it to auto tune. But I just think it's just the beginning. And once they actually have your voice in there on file, who knows what they're going to be able to do with it.
Mm-hmm. And perhaps a parent might use it for a child, maybe cloning the voice when they're little so they can listen to it when they're older, things like that for normal people.
there's tons of ways they could use it, outside of professional applications. It's once you have the intelligence and the ability to do it, no telling which way it can go. But cloning a voice is cool. You can have your parents talking to you, different ages, like you say, listening to yourself as a kid when you're 18, getting to hear yourself and actually make yourself talk because it takes text and it turns it into voices. So I was just concerned with security. I was like, well, who gets access to this? And they go, no, it's locked in, only you and the people that you allow a key. So like I'll be able to give this to my wife, and then when I'm gone, who knows? There'll be chances for me to do different things. So I just see it as being part of the future. And when I worked with Quincy Jones, he gave me a quote. He said, "If you want to lose a battle, fight the future." So I'm not here to fight the future. I'm trying to get with it.
I also know that it's they're helping like disabled people or people that have lost control of their voice through cancer or something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's tons of applications for this, where people that could talk now they can't talk, but then they can now, like I remember we used to watch what was the genius guy that used to be in the wheelchair and
Stephen Hawking.
right, and Stephen Hawkins would try to talk, but he was using a computer. It would have been nice to actually hear his true voice.
Mm-hmm.
So that type of situation where you end up in a Stephen Hawkins type situation, that would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you know this, but is this like the first time actually cloning a voice, or has it been tried before?
Well, it's been tried before. We talk to Siri. You're talking to all these different AI things that are out there. But I think this one, they've got it to the T. It's who's going to do it best, who's going to do it where it's undistinguishable from a robot, and who's going to make it, more lifelike. Because, like I'm saying, when I listened to my clone, I had people fighting me like, "Yo, that is you." So of course, if it got into the wrong hands, I could take a clone of you and make you say some things you never would imagine to say. And I'm quite sure that these clones, this particular place, this technology will probably you'll be able to do it on a phone eventually. But these voice legacy and vocapsule, they're about having it secured, have it authorized, and have it, of the person, and that person only has control of it.
Mm-hmm. And so, as you've talked about that, you were a little skeptical in the beginning, and I'm sure other people are too. So what you're doing now is sort of the front man for this, is sort of trying to dissuade those apprehensions and everything, right?
Well, I think, one thing about Ice-T is I maintain my integrity and I'm pretty honest. And, other people in the entertainment business will probably say, well, if Ice is doing it, it's probably legit. So, I want my friends to try it out, try it. It'll blow their mind, So, yeah, I thought it was something that I could get in front of. I'm known for my voice. I got a very distinguishable voice. I'm doing lots of voiceover work now. I'm doing lots of narrations and stuff like that. So it just fit. It fit. And like I said, anytime you can get in on grassroots in any tech business, it's smart.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
I wanted to interject something here while nobody was talking. Speaking to your question about how good it is and whether it's been tried before, there have been voice cloning or voice duplication services provided before, but the folks at Vocapsule and My Legacy Voice believe that theirs is the most realistic voice clone available. They provide a number saying 98 to 99% psychoacoustic accuracy, but what that really means is realness, and they warrant that their voice cloning is the most accurate means of trying to do that possible. Just to speak specifically to that.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go back and hide again. I'm that guy on the wall.
Okay. I think we've about covered the basics for the.
Yeah.
Thanks, Henry.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
See you, Henry. I wanted to ask you, you did an ad for the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression recently. So after all of these years, are you still having problems with music censorship?
Not me. Not me. They kind of gave up on me. You know what I'm saying? They kind of gave up on me, but it's more about the whole topic and the whole subject of, censorship and people trying to say what you can say and what you can't say. I came up with the conclusion of over my career is that we all have freedom of speech, but you just got to watch what you say because there will be ramifications for what you say. I think that's the penalty that you pay. I don't think there should be laws or anything that outlaws certain speech. I just think that if you say it, then you have to be ready for the people or whoever you're using the speech from to attack back. I learned that when I did Cop Killer. I can't get mad the cops got mad. I mean, I went at them, they came back at me. So I just tell people that if you have the you need to speak about something, you can't get upset with the blowback. It's gonna come. And if you're willing to accept that, then go ahead, speak freely.
Mhm. Yeah, I've thought that about social media too, but as you know, strict rules on Facebook and Twitter and all that there's no freedom of expression there, of course. It doesn't
Well,
follow
you
the
know what it
First
is?
Amendment.
The only place you truly have free speech is if you go up and stand on top of a mountain.
Mhm.
But if you need someone else's vehicle to share your music or your voice, they have the right to control it because now every magazine has an editor, every newspaper has an editor. So if you want to come through my channel to speak, I have the right to control it. So the only place you truly have free speech, see, you don't own social media. You don't own
Yeah,
it. Now,
not a government agency.
right. But now if you have your own server and you are on the net, there's a dark web where there's no rules. So there's the ability to, but then they can get you because you're not broadcasting it. So there's a way they say, hey, at some point you're using us.
Mhm.
That person can shut down free speech. So you just have to know it. I always tell people, I'm like, you may not even have free speech in your own house. You want to say anything, your wife might be like, oh, whoa, 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 watch that language. Where free speech truly exists is where only you can hear it. And I always tell guys, you can't come home and say, yo, honey, I slept with your sister, free speech. Like you got to be prepared for what happens. So you just have to watch what you say and think about what's going to happen after you make those statements.
Mhm. I know that you said that, speaking of Cop Killer, I know you said when you made it, you sort of got an idea from Psycho Killer. Were you a fan of the Talking Heads back then, or
Well, Talking Heads were signed to the same label as me. I was signed to Sire Warner Brothers, so they were label mates. And I mean, when Talking Heads came out, that was part of that whole MTV thing, and back then, whatever was on MTV became your playlist. So you might ask yourself, where did I get this beautiful? We're watching him, so you're wired into him, you're wired into David Lee Roth, you're wired into all the different music. So yes, I knew about Talking Heads. And yeah, I was singing Psycho Killer. When I walked into the studio and my drummer said, man, they need a cop killer. I'm like, why? And he said, these cops are out of pocket, man. They shooting motherfuckers. They judge and jury in the street out here. And that's when my brain started thinking, like, what if somebody went after them based on police brutality? Like, that's what made someone snap. And they went after the cops. I didn't know this guy would become a hero. And
Mhm.
that's where all the shit began, But as an artist, you get triggered by different things. Somebody might tell you, man, I was fighting with my girl, like, and now you're making a song about that. So that's how we get triggered. So yeah, that song was the seed to Cop Killer.
Mhm. What are your influences in heavy metal and rap? Uh,
Well, what rap, my influence, early rap was Melly Mel and groups like that from the Furious Five. You know, I was heavily influenced by him and then when Public Enemy came out, they made me understand, you know, I had to be conscious, I had to say something in my music. Um, Style, Rakim from Eric B and Rakim, they influenced me. When I got off into metal, I grew up with my cousin, and all he listened to was the rock stations. He thought he was Jimi Hendrix, and I used to listen to KMET and KLOS in LA. So I knew everything from Jay Giles Band, Traffic, Mott the Hoople, Edgar Winter. But I started to get into the heavier stuff like Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, groups like that. And when we did Body Count, I kind of mashed up Suicidal Tendencies with Slayer, with Black Sabbath. And I said, this will be the sound of the record. And then I'll sing about the similar stuff I rap about, but I'll just do it in a rock format, you know, because I was familiar with hardcore, New York hardcore, and they basically were yelling. I said, I could do that.
Well, I wanted to tell you congratulations on that recent Grammy. I guess that was
Yeah.
that was last year. What did you think when you?
Well, you know, I honestly think that the political climate around America got us in that Grammy zone, because earlier, the year before, we were nominated for Black Hoodie, which was the song about somebody getting shot by the cops just because they had on, you know, a black hoodie, kind of off the Trayvon thing, you know. So we kind of spun on that, and we got beat by Mastodon. We performed early at the Grammys, but Mastodon got us. I thought that was the last time we was ever going to be mentioned or heard of in the Grammys. Next year, we come back, Best Metal Performance, same category, and we won for Bum Rush. But I think it was the climate, you know, this is the time where George Floyd, people are in the streets, you know, our video kind of showed the energy of the people that, you know, we're not sleep anymore, we're woke. This is a term people are saying. So I think not just the fact it was a good metal track, but it had a lot to do with the timing. And I think that the Grammy people, whoever voted, said, yo, this song is really hitting the nail on the head at this time, versus just a normal metal record that might be singing about who knows what. But we were very timely and poignant, and we won.
And the ironic thing about all of that is a few years later, from cop killer, you became a police detective on one of the, well, it's certainly the longest running primetime series.
Yeah, it's the longest running show in history. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
I'm actually the longest running actor.
Correct.
Male actor outside of Bart Simpson. And Mariska has me by a few things. Now they call women actors. They don't call them actresses. I think, you know, like, why? We're all, you know, but they don't want to make the difference. Now they're actors too. Okay. Best actress, best actor, whatever. She beat me, got me by a few episodes, but I love Mariska to death. But it's interesting. Like, my first real acting role, I played a cop in New Jack City. So they call it
film. That's right.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you go against character. You know, you put me in as a gangster or a street cat. It's kind of normal. So you make me a cop or you make me a school teacher. And what you get is a cop with a very interesting dynamic. But what I do know is that the cops, when you get into it, they act more like gangsters than some gangsters. You know what I'm saying? They have this edge on them because they got a gun. So it kind of works. So when you see me on the show, I don't have to do much acting. I just happen to have a badge. You know, I always had a gun. Now I got a badge. So it's no difference.
Well, I think Finn needs a storyline. I don't know about you, but I think a romantic one. What do you think?
Funny thing about the romantic storyline, when we came back from COVID, they said, you're getting married. I'm like, to who? They say Phoebe. I'm like, didn't she tell me hell no 2 years ago? Yeah, well, you guys are getting married. I'm like, how? You guys hooked up over COVID. I'm like, the fans know that? So they tried one, but then it didn't work, and they ended up, we got close to marriage, but we broke up. But, you know, Dick Wolf is the first to tell you that this show is not about us. It's about the stories. And he's not really too much into getting into our storylines. It's not a soap opera. It's a story. It's a show based on the crimes and the different characters that come in. And it's worked. And, you know, 24 years, I'm cool. You know, I'm cool. I just come to work and chase the perps.
What's happening in the rest of the new season? Can you give any ideas about that or say anything?
I mean, no, not really, because we don't know, truthfully. We don't know. We know Kelli is leaving. She's doing 9 episodes. Don't ask me why. It's just like they shuffle the deck. This is how you keep a show on. They just say, hey, we want to put new people in, move some things around. All right. But, you know, I love Kelli. We worked together 10 years solid. I told her to go get an Oscar, you know, go do something else, you know. One thing about acting is every actor doesn't get into it to play the same character for the rest of their life. You know, one thing about acting is you get to do this, you get to do a period piece, you get to do this, that's the fun thing about that job. I don't have a problem staying on the show because I've already had a career. I've already maxed out music. I mean, I've had a 20-year rap career, you know what I'm saying? So to get into this, I'm comfortable. I've done a lot of movies. I'm not that person that feels like, oh, I'm missing something, you know, by doing this. But we'll see. No, we don't know what's going on the show. I don't know what's happening in the next script until I get it. So, you know, I'm just going for the ride. There's a theory that we know what's happening. No, we don't.
I know I get that a lot. I just usually I just ask, you know, for that.
Hey, if I knew something, I would tell you.
Yeah.
But
my thing is, I'll ask for the hell of it, and something may come up. Usually not. But
I mean, if I'm saying the same thing as everybody, now the writers, if you talk to the writers know the story arc.
Absolutely.
But the actors, we don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see yourself staying until the show ends?
Yeah. I made a statement that I'll be there till Mariska leaves. I think the show is Mariska's show. I don't think she could be replaced. And fortunately, she's still out buying shit. So as long as she keeps spending money, I think I got a job. If she starts saving money and liquidating, I'll start getting worried. I'll be like, okay, book a tour. We got to get on the road, go get some money. You know, it's funny though, because being a musician, to survive as a musician, you have to do like 200 tour dates a year. You have to really get out there and gig.
Right.
But with this, I'm able to do shows on the weekends. On hiatus, I go on tour, do 30, 40 shows. But I don't have to really grind like that. I have the ability to be home with my wife and my family, you know, see my daughter every day. So I really appreciate that at this point in my life.
Now, I read that you were doing a new animated series.
Yeah, we're working on an animated series called Tech City with one of my friends. He's done a couple of body count videos named Tommy the Animator. I met this guy, he's in Harlem. He still lives in the projects. And he had one laptop computer, another computer, and he was doing animation. I was just amazed. And being from hip hop, I know if you can find somebody that's doing a lot with nothing, give them some stuff and they can take it to another level. So we started this animated series. It's called Tech City. I got all my friends involved in it. Snoop is in it. Dr. Dre is doing the music. All the different rappers, Busta Rhymes, Mike Epps, all my friends, because all we're asking them for is a few, VOs, and then we're animating, and we also we have a comic book that's coming out, Death for Hire, which is the origin of Tech City, and we're going to Comic-Con this weekend to promote that.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you think, I'm going to interject two things here because I'm the My Legacy Voice guy. Do you think that My Legacy Voice would be, and vocapsule could be useful in that animated series?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, down the road, say our characters, say for instance, Snoop. If we had Snoop in a vocapsule, we wouldn't really have to bother him to do the animation. All we'd have to do is send him the finished animation and get his approval. And say, nah, I want to do that one different. And then he might come in and do a few votes, but it would lighten the load because we'd be able to put his voice in right into the picture. So yes, with animation, you do voice first, and then you animate to the picture. So yeah, and I think that's one of the main things this will be good for is animation.
Great.
Well, yeah, Henry, are you wanting to say
Well, I
something?
just wanted to, and I wanted to ask one or two more questions pertaining to this. It's called My Legacy Voice, and I just wondered how important it is for you to have your voice be able to be heard even when you're gone.
It's interesting. I mean, that's a honestly like interesting question, because I just think it's all about having the right person having control of it. I think that's what it is, because right now I have control over what I'm saying. I'm here. If I'm gone, I wouldn't want my voice to be saying a bunch of bullshit that I wouldn't naturally say. So I think if it's handled correctly, it could be a beautiful device. Posthumous when someone is gone. It's just like when they talk about the holograms and things of that nature. I think a lot of these questions with this type of technology will be really totally unanswered till it actually comes out and we get it going. Because it's like vocapsule is inventing a baby, and we don't know what the baby can do yet.
How important, since hip hop is getting older, you mentioned in another conversation I overheard about it coming up to being 50 years old. How important is the art of rap and the culture of hip hop, and how important is its responsibility, or has it changed over time from what it might have been originally to what it is now?
Well, everything evolves, but I don't know how. I mean, the thing of it is you don't understand history while you're making it, and those people that do are too full of themselves. So you don't know what's going to be held on as being important. It's pretty amazing. We did the Sotheby's auction, so we go into our storage unit. We pulled out some stuff that we had in there, dusted off, and took it to Sotheby's. They put it on the auction block, and stuff sold for $250,000. We're like, yo, we're rich. We got so much, because to us, it's like a drum machine. To somebody else, it's something that's super important, and it's part of history. So, we're seeing the value of hip hop increase, especially classic hip hop. When you say 50 years old, like, that's right. I'm meeting a guy. He's got full head of gray hair, businessman, distinguished. I'm down in the finance district of on the trading floor with this guy. He said, I'm a break dancer. I'm like, word? He said, yeah, man, I used to break in this group. Could never tell. So now you can't put a face on hip hop. You can't put a face on rock and roll. You don't know, But for all I know, Melissa was in mosh pits back in the day. I do not know. So music now, one thing I do say, dealing with legacy voice, music is the fountain of youth. it's the fountain of youth. When I sing the song, I become the age I was when I made it, and the listener becomes the age they were when they first heard it. It transports us into that time. So there's something about music. That's why Mick Jagger's 72, still running around buck wild and crazy.
Well, the last thing really I wanted to ask is if we'd be seeing any new solo music from you in the near future.
I just bought a recording studio. Me and Tretch acquired a recording studio in Jersey. I haven't had a studio in a while. And now that I'm in the studio more than likely there'll be a project. I have a project that I'm supposed to be working on before Christmas, which is going to be called The Legend of Ice-T. And it's crime stories, where it's a compilation of all my raps I've made over the years that were stories and narratives and adventures, because I'm known for that. And I've got about 5 or 6 unheard tracks on there too. So yeah, stay tuned for The Legend of Ice-T. And we call it The Legend because legends are made of truth and fiction. So a lot of the things people think about me are really part of the legend. Remember the time Ice was in that club and he knocked 5 guys out with 1 punch? You know, that type of shit. That happens in my record.
Oh, and how does Chanel like first grade?
You know, the funny thing with Chanel, she went to school for 2 days and she says, I got to go tomorrow. I'm like, yeah. She goes, this is every day. I'm like, is it?
That's funny. That's funny. Sounds like me in first grade. Hey, thanks so much for your Henry. Do you have anything else?
Melissa, thank you so much. And yeah, I mean, Vocapsule is the future. My
love it.
Is the future.
Absolutely. Always been a fan. So it's great. It's great to meet you and talk to you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Sorry I had to interject. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Please feel free to interject with your intelligence.
Okay. Thanks, man.
All right.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.